It's fair to say that it's been an unusual few years for the banking industry, and strategies have had to adapt to the next normal. That was one of those expressions that we heard during the COVID-19 pandemic. What is the next new normal? But you know what? In spite of all that, it hasn't just been a challenging time for the banks, it's also been an extremely exciting time, in fact, for the industry as well. They've upped their game, if you want me to put it as bluntly as that, and the results are there for all to see, going from strength to strength. So look, let me put a question to all of you. Let's go back to 2021 and 2022. What is it that we've learned so far from this journey? Can I start first with you, Mikael, and then we'll move it along to the rest of the panel.
Thank you. Well, if you had asked me 2 years ago if I thought it possible to run a bank remotely via Skype or Teams or Zoom, I would definitely say no way. But we have all adapted, and this is this fantastic capability we human beings have when faced with a new challenge. So I would say that adaptation is something that definitely comes to the top of my mind.
Okay, adaptation, Keith.
Yeah, well, I think for me, we would never have expected to be able to deliver projects and programs in the sort of timescales maybe that people mentioned earlier. You know, we started to introduce projects, digital projects, and deliver outcomes in 12 weeks. You know, that just doesn't happen in banking 5 years ago, probably not even 3 years ago. So that whole concept of digital acceleration, I think, has somehow manifested itself as a consequence of the way that we ended up working.
Okay, Gerald.
I'd say for us, 3 major lessons, right? First, 2021, or the whole pandemic, confirmed our path of, let's say, being really, really focused on what our users want and put that at the center of what we're doing. Second finding, neobanks these days can be profitable. We managed that by the end of last year, and I think that was, for us, quite an achievement. It doesn't happen that often these days. And third, again, from a strategic point of view, we figured that beyond the organic growth we've shown before, M&A will become a crucial part of our strategy to then build on this profitability and build something that is a really international digital bank.
And Gonzalo, what were the lessons you learned from 2021 that you've been able to bring forward into this year?
I think we had 3 key lessons the last couple of years. No? First of all, I would highlight the importance of getting back to basics and really focusing on what your customers demand the most. No? And what they really demanded the last couple of years is being close to them in challenging times. So flexible payment plans for their credits, granting new credit, payroll advance for individuals. No? So developing the set of products that help them navigate through the crisis. No? So this was a very important lesson. The second one is it has really reinforced the core pillars of our value proposition, no? Which is digital plus remote. No? So it's very important to have the best experience on the mobile, the best digital experience, so customers can do everything very easily on digital, but they want to have advice, human advice on remote for the complex interactions. Could be a mortgage, could be advice on investment. So the combination of this human on remote interaction and digital becomes very powerful. No? So you have the best experience possible without the need of going to a branch. You have the best digital plus human experience in your mobile app. No? And finally, I would also highlight that it has really accelerated digitization, no? Especially on certain segments. It has really helped us to accelerate digitization and having customers interacting even more with us through the mobile app.
Okay, and stay with me on this, Gonzalo, because look, what happened last year was that it really highlighted the importance to have somebody there for you as a customer in times of difficulty. So how do you see the industry anticipating needs which are constantly evolving and stepping up to give that support to the customers, to keep them on board and to reassure them?
I think the next step for banking is about really helping our customers to improve their financial health and help them to make better financial decisions. No? And we can do it now more easily than in the past, because we have millions of customers' interactions in the mobile app, and we have the data, the power of data to really make those interactions more smart. No? I think, in a sense, digital banking is going through different stages or different steps. No? The first one is the most basics, which is about what we call servicing, which is checking transactions, making payments, the simple stuff. No? Next step, which is a bit more difficult, is about selling on the mobile app, selling on digital. And this is a bit more complex because you need to have a simple offering and very simple end-to-end digital processes, and then digital capabilities. No? So this is a bit more complex. No? The third one is about customer acquisition. No? It's about acquiring customers through digital channels, which is even more complex, no? Because it's a process that is highly regulated and it involves certain complexity. No? And the final stage, which is the most difficult, the most challenging, but is the most important for our customers, is how we help them to make better financial decisions. And it's not just about providing the customers a set of tools, PFM tools, goal setting, a financial calendar, planning for the investment. It's about, by the way, yes, offering this set of tools, but it's also about offering our customers proactive, personalized advice around those tools. No? And we can discuss about it later, but it's very important to really get to this final stage of proactively taking advantage of millions of customers interacting in the mobile app every day to offer this proactive and personalized advice.
Okay, and Keith, can I get your response to that, please? What are your thoughts in light of what you've just heard?
Yeah, I mean, the notion of something being digital on the front is something that we're all fairly comfortable with. But I think, and I might make myself a little unpopular here, but certainly my experience, 10 years in one of the UK's leading retail banks, it's not very digital behind that. And you really need connected, integrated systems and technology to be able to really fulfill a slick end-to-end customer experience through digital. We spent a long time putting a nice skin onto something that was very legacy, and then started to find ways where we could actually, if you like, digitally decouple the complexity on the core away from the servicing layer. And I think if you can manage to get that trick right, that allows you to move from something that isn't very digital in the back end and in the core to something that feels digital truly in an end-to-end way, then you start to crack the challenge that I think certainly all of the incumbent banks across the world are facing at the moment.
Okay, there's a lot of ground that we have to cover in the time available. What I want to do now is look at open innovation and the changing digital ecosystems that's been referenced, in fact, by some of our other participants. And Mikael, let's consider the likes of Starling Bank in the UK or the super app business models we're seeing in Asia. Are business models inevitably heading in that direction? And if that's the case, how can the banks prepare for that?
That's a great question. And for some, I would say yes. For others, definitely no. And for a third group, maybe partly. It's important to understand that we're not all the same. We have different business models and will always have different business models. It really depends on what kind of bank you are or want to be. If you have a mass market approach, and your core offerings include simple products like a current account, cards, payments, and maybe consumer lending, then you will have a low profit on customer level. And then you probably need to have a fully digitalized process to get the economy of scale. But if you, like us, have a more relationship-driven business model with more complex customers with substantial or very often substantial lending or wealth management needs, then you will have a much higher profit on customer level, and then it can make a lot of sense to have local presence combined with digital solutions like online and mobile banking. So it really depends on what kind of bank you're trying to be.
Let's follow up on that point to Gonzalo. What kind of bank do you want to be? So I guess if you know what it is, then that helps you to adapt and rethink your propositions?
Yes, clearly, and it's interesting, the topic of super apps and ecosystems, because one of the biggest fears for us is the risk of disintermediation. No? And for us, the bank that we aspire to continue being is the bank that provides the best customer experience. And this, if you have an amazing customer experience, this will protect us and you will keep the final relationship with your customers. No? And how to provide this amazing customer experience, I think it's about two things. No? First of all, as I mentioned before, it's about the combination of digital and human on remote. This is a very powerful value proposition for the customer. The second is about proactive advice. No? And I think it's proactive advice along 4 dimensions that customers do really value. No? I mean, first of all, it's about day-to-day control. What we heard for customers, they're really afraid of getting into an overdraft. So we alert them of an overdraft weeks in advance and offer them a solution, alert them from unexpected transaction, alert them when they have a direct debit from a new issuer. So helping the customers to be much more in control of the day-to-day finance. This is something very important for them. The other important thing for them is also helping customers to save. And this is also really, really strategic for us, no? Making sure that we target the right customers and offering them the right solution to put aside part of the payroll in order to create a safety net and start saving, no? And not only that, also helping our customers to plan for retirement, proactively advising them on digital, and also for the customers that don't have a problem with savings, making sure that they are able to get the most out of their money. No? So in a sense, is making sure that we provide this personalized and tailor-made advice to each individual customers. This, together with human and digital and remote, digital and human and remote, provides what we call, or we understand, is an amazing customer experience that will help us to protect us against any potential ecosystem or super app.
Okay, so being with that customer at the really key moments of their life, such as retirements. And Gerald, come into the conversation. You've been listening to this intently, but look, what are the emerging business models that you're seeing and which carry the most potential? Because you guys at bunq, you are seriously hot on sustainability, something we're all talking about. That's really infiltrated the political conversation as well.
That is true, but for me, there's 2 different topics, right? Sustainability, and I can talk about it in a bit, and the business model, right? We haven't built our business model on sustainability per se. We've built our business model on the strong belief that that we do everything our users would value, right? And I think that's really at the core. And you said you're afraid of losing, of being disintermediated. I mean, we're not afraid, but I think that is really the point. You have to own the interface with your customers, with your users. That's crucial. And what's behind it? The jury's out there. I mean, I'm not a strong believer in this super app discussion, to be frank. Right? I think Europe is not homogeneous enough. We can't agree on so many things around here. That is, it's hard to imagine that we agree on one app to do all our financial stuff in. So and bunq is all about that. We offer our users choice, right? And it's for them to decide what they want and how they want to invest, how they want to bank. We'll try to provide them the offers for that.
Okay.
Yeah. Sustainability, I can talk about it as well if you want, right now or in a bit.
Well, I'm conscious of the fact that we have a very limited window, but the great thing is that we're here all day. There's going to be loads and loads of networking, and I have a feeling there are quite a few people out there who will be avalanching you to talk about sustainability. Forewarned is forearmed. He says he's happy to be avalanched. So there you go, if you want to talk about sustainability. But look, let's close out this section, Keith, by just looking at new revenue streams from banking. And look, we're talking about bringing crypto retail to customers. I mean, look, come on. What do you see as the most potential? There is so much out there, you have to cherry pick. Very briefly.
Well, I think you mentioned earlier the notion of open finance. I think that open finance, open banking has worked reasonably well for customers. It's worked very well for fintech. It's not worked particularly well for incumbents, I don't think. I can't think there would be many people here who would say that they've been able to drive revenue or drive real improvements in the value chain that they provide to customers as a consequence of things like open banking, particularly in the big incumbent banks. So I think getting some role where you can aggregate and become that intermediary or aggregator of fintech so that you can deliver a value chain to your customers has got to be something that a lot of incumbents need to be looking at. But how do you do that? Well, that's technology again, because you need to be able to reach out and use those APIs, but also use the way that the fintechs are, if you like, providing the service to allow you to deliver that service.
It's like sustainability as well. It's the conversation during the network session.
I think sustainability, just as a slight aside, should be embedded into everything. So I don't think there's any. It's not sustainable and digitized. It's not sustainable and fintech. All these things need to be integrated and brought together, and there are ways of being able to do that.
You're going to have some powerful conversations when I close out for the break. I just thought I'd warn you about that. But look, the thing is, we can talk about the changes, but the bottom line is that there are some things which are constant, and that has come across in the time that we've been together. We're talking, for example, about purpose, trust, and again, the S word, sustainability, being at the centre of everything that banks have to do. But look, Gonzalo, very briefly, we heard Mikael earlier discussing the importance about trust and transparency. We heard those themes in the keynote. How can banks continue to champion that purpose-led approach? And very briefly, from BBVA's perspective, what does that look like?
I think trust, gaining customer trust is absolutely key. Our purpose is to bring the age of opportunity to everyone, and for that, we need to build this customer trust. And this is, first of all, about the basics, and the basics, in a sense, is about transparency, for sure. No hidden commissions, no hidden fees. It's about simplicity, a very clear and simple offering on the mobile device that is very easily explained to our customers. So it's about having the basics right, but also it's about providing independent advice. And providing this independent advice means that not only we have to offer the best third-party products on investment funds and insurance, or offer products from third parties as a way to prove that you are really independent, but also providing customers with independent advice, even if it goes against your short-term P&L. So, for instance, helping customers to avoid certain fees, helping our customers to reduce FX fees, helping to customers to avoid an overdraft and therefore paying less fees. It's about proactively offering this advice to our customers, that it goes against the short-term P&L, but it builds the real trust in the long term. So again, the basics, which is simplicity, transparency, and the most complex thing, which is independent advice to help customers to make the best financial decisions.
Okay, and final question to you, Keith. What do you see as the imperatives when it comes to achieving that embedded purpose across an organisation? Yes, getting rid of the silos, that's part of it, but what's the rest, very briefly?
Well, I think it's a few people have talked about it today. It's that notion that your people... My dad told me that banking used to be a service industry. It then became a sales industry, and I don't think anybody would deny that. I think it's very much gone back to trying to be a service industry, trying to put the customer at the heart of everything that we do. That's a great example that Gonzalo's just given of actually making the right decisions for the customer so that long-term trust comes in. Mikael, you talked about it earlier on. The perfect bank for me is not a fully digital bank. The perfect bank for me is where digital technology enables the people who work for that bank to deliver great service for customers. And I suspect, personally, that even as a technologist, is what the optimal kind of framework and operating model looks like.
Okay, we've got a couple of minutes where we can take questions from our audience to the panel. So, guys, are you ready?
Sure.
Fantastic. That's what I like to see. Ready, willing, and able. So, look, in the time available, I guess that this has to go to you, Michael. What practical advice do you have to implementing, or Gerald, I should say, to implementing sustainability strategies?
That's a broad question, right? I mean, In our case, sustainability was at the core of the set of values we were built on. So I think for us it was a bit different because it's not something we had to introduce at some point because we felt everybody's doing it, but it was part of the core belief of our founder that banking has a responsibility. And I mean, bunq was founded in the aftermath of a financial crisis. Sustainability is a topic that's been with us for a couple of years. We've been integrating it into our approach from the very beginning. We're giving people the choice to invest sustainably. We're very transparent on that. We do our own climate report. We've committed ourselves to the Paris target. So for us, it's really, really integrated at the very bottom and is very different, I guess, to somebody who's been around for 100+ years and then putting that on top of it. So it's a bit hard to give general strategic advice on that.
Do you know what? What you gave to us was very good, so please, fantastic. And I can quickly squeeze in another question, in fact. Advice is a tricky road to go down. The word advice was in inverted commas. How can this be brought to retail customers in a safe or responsible way? Who would like to tackle that one, or do I need to choose someone? Keith, you raised your eyebrows before everybody
else. Did that face look like I wanted to answer that question?
Yes, it did, actually.
Sorry, there's a facial crime right there.
You were chomping at the bit.
Sorry, ask the question again.
Advice, and the word advice is in inverted commas, is a tricky road to go down.
Yeah.
How can this be brought to retail customers in a safe or responsible way?
So you've got to be able to help your people to guide the conversations that they have with customers. I think we all live in a very sort of controlled environment. We all have regulatory responsibilities. We need to make sure that when our service agents, the people who are working with our customers, we do want to give them that sort of latitude to be able to support. But I think there are good ways, and I guess I probably would say this, of guiding them to work in the right way, to be compliant as they're doing that, to be able to provide the service and advice in a safe and compliant way.
That sounds like a very good response to me. Would anyone else like to add to that before I close things out? Gonzalo, you were smiling then. That means that you want to get involved.
No.
I'm quite ruthless in my question allocation.
It's a question we can discuss this for hours, no? But because the word advice is very tricky, very broad. But at the end of the day, as I said before, it's about making sure that you provide independent advice, which is very important. No? Not focusing just on the short-term P&L impact, but making sure that you are gaining the trust of your customers in the long term, of your retail customers. No? And this independent advice, third-party products, even hurting your short-term P&L, I think is key in order to really make sure that you help your customers to make the best financial decisions. No?
Okay, then. Gerald and Mikael, would you like to add to that before I close this?
Well,
Go ahead.
I can just say that if coming back to what I said before, if you have a business model where you focus on low profitable products, then you cannot afford to really to give face-to-face advice. At least if your overall goal is to make money in the bank, it can also be something else, which is your purpose. But if you do want to make money, so then you need to use technology to give that advice, I guess. But if you have customers where you actually have a good profitability on a customer level, then face-to-face advice can still be a way forward.
Okay, and Gerald?
I guess I'm with Gonzalo on that. Advice is a very, very wide term here, and for a purely digital player, there is limited opportunities to give direct advice to their customers. So I would say what we do to balance that is we've set up a forum for our user base. We encourage the user community to come together, to interact. Our employees are on that platform as well. There is discussions going on around all kinds of, from simple features to larger topics. And at the core also is one thing Gonzalo mentioned, that is transparency on the fees and being able and willing to not maximize your profits on the back of people being not aware of what's going to happen, what's happening in the back.
Okay, sound notes on which to end. Guys, all I can say is keep on doing what it is that you're doing because the results speak for themselves. But could you please show your appreciation to our excellent panel here of Keith,